Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. We got a big weekend in front of us. Oh, yeah, this is must-win Saturday. There's even a couple of Friday shows that likes to be today. And this is win or go home. I'm telling you, there are so many big games this weekend. I wish they'd spread this out through the year because a lot of these games deserve their own video, but they're all jammed into this weekend. This is the biggest college weekend of football that we've seen all year, and it's going to be monstrous. And everything's on the line. Now at noon, we've got three really big games. Now for us Tennessee fans, obviously Tennessee Vandy, but the biggest game, without question, unless you're a Tennessee fan, is Ohio State versus Michigan. It's a monster game for a lot of reasons. Now, if you've watched Ohio State and Michigan over the years, you know they're always like this. It's a great game. It's always at 12, which is annoying because there's two other noon games that are huge. But this one has a lot of ramifications for the playoff. It's got the Big Ten championship kind of hanging in the balance. Who's going to play in that game? But more than anything, this has a lot to do with Connor Stallions and the last 3 years. If you followed Ohio State at all, they've actually dominated Michigan over the last like 15, 20 years until Connor Stallions showed up. I'll actually show you. Yeah, right here. Now you see they've won the last 3 games. Michigan has. But look down through here. It was canceled during the COVID deal. And then look at 20, 19, 18, all the way down, 17. They won, 8 in a row prior to that. They lost 1 game, and then they won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in a row. So that's 15 out of 16 years they had beaten Michigan. Then Connor shows up, and everything changed, and they got whooped 3 years in a row. Now, Connor's gone. And, of course, Michigan has struggled this year. They've already got 5 losses. Ohio State's got 1, and that was barely by Oregon. So this game's at Ohio State. The amount of revenge they want over this, because the last 3 years, it's really hard to describe it. And we still don't know about the notice of allegations. We're waiting on a response from Michigan, and they asked for more time from the NCAA.
Please, sir, I want some more. More?
Yeah, I guess 90 days wasn't enough for them to answer those allegations. So the NCAA threw a few more allegations at them just for good measure because they wanted more time, I guess. But anyway, this game is huge. I can tell you if Michigan were to win this game, I don't know if Ohio State could handle it. I really don't. I think their fan base, there could be a meltdown. Doesn't mean they'd be out of the playoff. They'd still be in, I think, without too much trouble because they'd have, 1 good loss, which would be Oregon, and then a so-so loss against Michigan. But I don't, just mentally, to lose 4 years in a row and now Connor's gone, it's almost unthinkable. Now, I don't think that's going to happen. I think Ohio State's going to run the score up on them because they want blood. I'm telling you, they are very angry up in Ohio State land. This is not your normal big-time rivalry. This has got all kinds of mustard on it. I mean, it's going to be something else. So be looking for that game at noon tomorrow. Then there's plenty of other great games, fantastic games. This game right here, South Carolina versus Clemson. I cannot wait to watch that game. And, of course, I'm going to be trying to watch multiple games. I'm going to be watching all 3 of these. I'll have 2 on my phone, 1 on my TV. I might have my computer going. I may have to move a TV. But anyway, it's going to be wild as crap. South Carolina is the team nobody wants to play right now. They have improved dramatically throughout the year. And I think a big part of course, their defense suddenly has been great all year. They have played beautifully. But Lenora Sellers has improved. He started out, he looked like a freshman. He was not getting the job done. And he lacked a lot of fundamentals and things like that, but he's a super athlete. I mean, he can run like the wind. He's big. He can handle the abuse of the SEC. But as he's worked on his fundamentals and started to calm down, he's been getting better and better. And they're going to play Clemson at Clemson. I think South Carolina is going to win this game. I swear I do. I don't think Clemson has played a team like South Carolina except once this year, and that was Georgia. Now, South Carolina is not as good as Georgia, but I'll tell you what, I think Carolina's going to win this game. And I don't know what Carolina Jackpot's going to do. He's going to have to be positive for the first time since I've ever watched his channel. He's going to have to actually have a good attitude. It's going to be rough on him. He might be better off they were lose that game. Anyway, now the next huge game, it is for my VOLS. Tennessee versus Vanderbilt. Holy shnikes. It doesn't get any bigger than this as far as a ball game because we have everything to play for. We win this game, it keeps us in the playoff. We might even get a home field advantage if we get a loss or two from some other teams that are ahead of us. We're currently at number 9 in the college football playoff. I'll show you that. Right here, we'd be playing Georgia, which that's not going to happen. There's so many games that are going to impact this, including Georgia's against Georgia Tech. And then they're going to play in the SEC championship, so they're going to move around. I think you've got a couple of Big Ten opponents here that I don't think will end up playing each other. I just don't think the committee will wind up wanting to put conference against conference in the very first game, but you never know. But here's all your teams in your layout. So Tennessee needs to just win this game. And Vanderbilt is normally a piece of cake. It's a lot like this when we play Vanderbilt.
If it's the claw. Oh, the claw's coming at you. Oh, you're scared of the claw. You're scared of the claw. Ooh.
Yeah. They show up with their little claw, and we're supposed to be afraid of it, and it is just ridiculous. But they've got Diego Pavia this year, and Diego has beaten some really good teams, and he scared the crap out of some teams too. Almost beat Texas, almost beat LSU at LSU, and of course they beat Alabama, Kentucky. They're already in a bowl game, so they don't have to worry about winning to get into a bowl game. So they have plenty to play for because this is their Super Bowl every year. If they beat us and gets to 7 wins, this would be a career season for them. Last time they were anywhere this good was James Franklin was head coach, and that was, what, 15 years ago or something? So look for the Tennessee game to be huge. I expect Tennessee to win this game. I think they're going to show up ready to play, and I don't think they're going to have a slow start. It should be a great game. Diego Pavia is not 100%. I'll go ahead and tell you. His knee is banged up. His throwing shoulder is banged up. And they've been having to bring in a backup for him from time to time to run. They do have a good backup. He's very fleet-footed. But I think Tennessee will handle Vanderbilt. But it could be – I wouldn't be shocked if they beat us. And if they did, you want to talk about a meltdown in the K-Town. Oh, gosh. I can't even comprehend the thought of it. I won't allow myself to go there yet, but it would be awful. So look for that to be – that's 3 monster games, and it won't even be – 3 o'clock yet. Then you go further down, and you've got this huge game. Miami versus Syracuse. Miami loses this game, they're out. I'll just go ahead and tell you because Miami's been hanging on. Their schedule's not very good, and they're playing at Syracuse. They're 8-3, so Syracuse could beat Miami. I've seen Miami play around in the first half. They could have lost multiple games. They better get on their horse right off the bat because that crowd could get involved. It could be a very disappointing game for Miami. And they've spent a lot of money in NIL, brought in Cam Ward, brought in all those offensive linemen, defensive linemen. They're a good team. They'd better show up because if they get knocked out of the playoff, it's going to be very disappointing in Miami land. Now we've got some other fantastic games. SMU's got to play California. They better be careful with Cal. They're a decent team. But this monster game here, the Iron Bowl, Alabama must win this game or they have no chance of getting into the playoff. They still could if a few upsets were to happen like it did last weekend. So Alabama's not out of it. Auburn's going to show up wanting to win so bad they can't stand it. They need this win. It'll get them into a bowl game, which is huge. They're playing at Alabama, which is going to be tough. I don't know which Alabama team's going to show up. They have been Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. Some weeks they're great, some weeks they're crap. And what Oklahoma did to them last weekend shocked me. I've never seen an Alabama team get pushed around like that, and they were bullied. Don't get it twisted.
What, are you gonna cry now? Come on, cry, baby, cry for me. Come on, cry.
And I had gone out of my skull.
By Oklahoma, who was 5-5. But I tell you, when you go on the road against these SEC teams, you know, it's a different world. So look for that to be it's always a great game. It's the Iron Bowl. They always say you can throw the records out and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if that's true, but I can tell you Auburn wants to win that game so bad they can't stand it. I would say they'd storm the field, but there won't be enough of them there. If it was at Auburn, they would. Another monster game. Notre Dame at USC. That is going to be tough. They got to go on the road. And USC's a decent team. They changed quarterbacks. They're starting to look a little bit better. Notre Dame has that horrible loss against Northern Illinois, the Fighting Dust Mites or whatever the crap they're called. So that was a devastating loss. If they were to lose to USC, I think they'd be kicked out. And Notre Dame, you know how special they are. They can't join a conference, so this is their last game. They're the only big team in the country that's not a member of a conference. And I guess they're super special or something.
Excuse me.
And I don't really have a problem with Notre Dame other than that. I actually like Notre Dame. I mean, they have a great campus, terrific team, great tradition, but they need to get in a conference. And I would love to have them in the SEC, but they're not a good fit. I think they'd be a perfect fit for the Big Ten. And it would help the Big Ten not only financially, but it would give them another quality team they need. Because the bottom half of the Big Ten is tumbleweed time. They're just not very good. And that's why Indiana has such a puny schedule this year as far as strength of schedule, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But Big Ten needs another quality team, and Notre Dame would be that. But if they lose, they're goodbye. Another monster game, since we're talking about Indiana. They're playing the worst team in the Big Ten, which is Purdue. They'll win that, should be pretty easy. Indiana's a pretty good team. I'm not sitting here ripping on them. It's just their schedule's a joke. 106th it was in ESPN. How is that possible? There aren't 106 teams in the Power Four, which means they played a bunch of scrubs in the group of 5 that were so bad, combined with their really weak schedule, that it's 106th. Now, it's improved since they played Ohio State, but that's the only top 25 team they played all year, and they got boat raced. I mean, literally, Ohio State drugged them up and down the field like a rented mule. So Indiana, I don't know how good they are. I think they're pretty darn good, but they're definitely not in the top echelon. And they dropped, to number 10, and rightfully so. They're still in the playoff because of all the upsets last weekend, but they got to win. They got to win to get in. No more losses, Indiana. Now we've got another monster game, Texas versus Texas A&M. They've not done this in like 13 years. That's insane. How can Texas not play Texas A&M every year, just like the Iron Bowl, just like South Carolina, Clemson, Florida State, all those types of games? It's insanity to me. Well, they're back, and Texas A&M is pissed. They went and tried to screw them up during the College World Series in baseball, hired their coach away from them, just caused them all kinds of mayhem because of that. Texas doesn't really respect Texas A&M, and the truth is, these are both teams that have so much money they don't even know what to do with it all. They paid $76 million to Jimbo Fisher not to coach. I guess when you got oil money, you can do whatever the crap you want.
Haven't you noticed? You gotta be a man to play in my league.
Absolutely. And I will tell you right now, I'm calling an upset alert right here. I think Texas A&M is going to beat Texas. I really do. And that's going to cause all kinds of issue in the playoff because A&M is going to wind up in the SEC game against Georgia, and they've already got 3 losses. If Georgia beats them, they'd have 4. Then they're out. It's going to be a wild afternoon tomorrow, but I swear I think A&M is going to beat them. We'll see. But 110,000 people at College Station think they will. Another great game. So that's your Saturday. And it's very, very rare to have not only so many great games that will directly impact the playoff, but on top of it, all these great rivalries in state. It's going to be an amazing Saturday. And I think the viewership, especially with the playoff ramifications, it's going to be the biggest ratings that the college football game has ever seen. It's going to be monstrous, and people are going to be watching on every platform known to man. And if you're not excited about this weekend, you're not a college football fan. It's just a fact. And that's okay if you're not, but the odds of you watching this video are a 99.9 that you are. So you should be pumped. And I am. This is the most exciting weekend of the year, plus my Vols are still in it. I love the 12-team playoff. It's just changed everything. And even the people that were opponents of it are getting on board because they're starting to feel the juice. And to have 20 teams watching these games pumped is fantastic for the game. College football is going to grow and grow and grow. Love the playoff. I know a lot of y'all just enjoyed Thanksgiving. Of course, I did too. And I wanted to show you a few pictures. I've got a lot of ladies in my family that are great cooks, and they literally went to town. I mean, they had a spread. We've never had a spread like this. This was insane. I got to show you some of these pictures because I was blown away. Yeah, here was our main table where all the food was. It was crazy. These were mushrooms. They were somehow mixed with butter and wine. They were unbelievable. Brussels sprouts that I usually won't eat, they were great. And then everything else was fantastic. And then my brother Chilmont, he fried a big turkey, and it was absolutely delicious. He actually fried a couple of them in one of those big bats, and he was doing it outside at this cabin. It was terrific. I mean, it's the best turkey I've ever eaten. And then here was a dessert bar. I couldn't even eat any dessert. I was so full from the regular meal. So anyway, I did want to show you those pictures. I hope y'all had a great Thanksgiving. Now, anyway, if you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Lets me know continue to cover all these big college sports stories. If you've not subscribed, boom, 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 right there it is. It can cost you a dime. Help you get my videos. It's the best deal. And right over here is the most recent video. YouTube thinks you'll enjoy. And we'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay.